Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new video where in today's video I'm actually going to share with you why we actually moved out of Toronto. We were previously living in a condo within Toronto, and due to some cost related things and matters, we decided eventually that it was probably better to purchase a place in the suburbs. So the first reason why we couldn't purchase a home in Toronto was obviously due to affordability. It is super expensive to purchase a home in Toronto. If you have 1.4 or like 1.5 million to spare, then you can get yourself maybe a single detached home with a nice spacious plot of land to spare for your family. And that's if you have 1.4 million upwards to afford for a home in Toronto. If you do have 1 million to spare, maybe, and that's where the homes are going right now. If you have $1 million to spare, you can maybe get yourself a townhome in the suburbs outside of Toronto. And that's if you have $1 million to spare. And that's why we pretty much left Toronto, because we couldn't afford to get a place with more than $1 million. And that's just the reality of purchasing a home in Toronto right now. Number two, so the second reason why we had decided to purchase a home outside of Toronto is just because Bank of Canada has been raising their interest rate since like March of 2022. And that's basically the time that we started looking for a home, to purchase a home. We were looking both in the city of Toronto and outside of Toronto. And given that this Bank of Canada has been raising their interest rates, you're pretty much paying more towards interest and less towards the principal. So you're basically throwing money down the drain. And that's basically our case right now. We're basically throwing more money towards the interest and less so much towards the principal. Our third reason has more to do with our apartment and living in an apartment lifestyle. So when we were living in the apartment initially, we're paying around $700 towards maintenance fees, which obviously covers like hydro, heating, AC, electricity, things of that nature, but it doesn't cover like cable TV, internet, or phone bills. So those were out of our pockets, right? And what it did cover was towards, garbage collection, maintaining infrastructure, making sure the lawns were taken care of, and, the flowers are taken care of, and, the snow clearing was taken care of, everything like outside was taken care of, and we also had 24/7 security, mind you. So that was nice, but I just didn't think it was absolutely necessary, and I felt like eventually like that maintenance fee turned into like close to around $800, I think, per month after we left. And for me, that wasn't worth it. I was like, I'm an able-bodied person. I don't need to be paying somebody else to help me take care of the lawn, throw out the garbage. I don't need 24/7 security, which was nice, mind you, but I didn't need it. And I felt like everything that I was using on my utilities that was being used did not add up to around $800. So that was probably one of my biggest reasons for leaving our apartment and leaving the city of Toronto. Number four is probably the biggest reason why I left the city of Toronto. A lot of the homes, as you get closer to the city of Toronto, you have to pay for parking, especially when you're living closer and closer towards the city core, the downtown core. So when I was living with my in-laws, they had merged and shared parking with their neighbors, which is not something that I wanted. I wanted my own parking space. So that was a no-no for me. The other thing was that if you want to park outside against the curb, like close by to your house or your home, you would need to pay, I think I paid about $100 for about 6 months to be able to park in a certain zone area. You would have to compete with your neighbors essentially to find parking, and you would have to be careful as to not to block your neighbor's driveway so that they can come outside, right? So my fifth reason is the traffic. There's a lot of traffic and it's very congested getting anywhere in Toronto, and you're only allowed to drive like between 40 and 50 kilometers an hour, which is not fast. It's quite slow. Need I say more? Number six. So the sixth reason is that you don't get a lot for what you pay for in Toronto. You get maybe like a small piece of space, a small piece of land, and you're paying millions for a house. 1.4 million, I'm sure, like upwards, just to get like a piece of space, a piece of land. And for me, that wasn't enough. Maybe for like our home size in Toronto, if you were to purchase that in Toronto, you would have to pay like a minimum of like, I don't know, like, gosh, 1.5. Even here in like in our area, depending on where you live, you might also have to fork out like 1.4 mil for a townhouse, and that's like in a relatively nicer area too. Something that you have to like prioritize, like, do you want more space or do you want to be closer to Toronto? Like, that's just something that you have to like weigh your pros and cons, like what is more important, right? To add on to that point, so when we were looking for a home, there was a home very close by to my in-laws' place, like literally on the same street. And they had 2 bedrooms and I think 1 washroom or something. And it was probably either the same size as my in-laws' place or a little tad smaller. My in-laws had 3 bedrooms. This house that we were checking it out had 2 bedrooms. And it sold for like 1.4 million.
What? What?
I'm like, that is not worth it. And there was just so much work to be done, which is my 7th reason. For the amount of work and maintenance and renovations that you have to do to upkeep and maintain a new home, it's just like not worth it for some of us. Like for me particularly, it's just the amount of money like you have to do towards renovating a new home, to upkeep it, to maintain it, to make it look fresh. It's just not worth it. Like, we moved into our home, we didn't have to do much and we didn't really have to put much money into maintaining it. We did have to recently fix our deck, but again, like, we didn't have to put a whole lot of money into it. Like, it's still in livable condition. It's not like breaking apart and breaking down on us. So I think that's one of the pros of moving out of the city and finding like a newer place to live in, which is what I appreciate more, to be quite honest with you. And number 8, I don't even know. Anyways, this is my last reason. In Ontario, you have to pay land transfer tax when you're buying a home within the province of Ontario. It's like between 1% and 2% or more, depending on the value of your home. And the same goes for when you purchase a home within the city of Toronto. So as long as you purchase a home within the boundaries of the city of Toronto, you also have to pay an additional like Toronto land transfer tax, basically. So you're paying Ontario land transfer tax and you're paying Toronto land transfer tax, and it's like paying double whammy. So as long as you don't purchase a home within the city of Toronto, you likely don't have to pay for, you know, additional taxes on top of the Ontario land transfer tax, if that makes any sense. It was part of a contributing reason as to why we didn't really want to purchase a home within the city of Toronto. It was just like, I'm paying also for the house, I have to pay land transfer tax for Ontario, and now I have to pay for the city of Toronto. That's a lot of money, man. Where am I getting that money from? I hope you found this video informal, useful, and handy. If you have any knowledge you want to share, leave it down in the comments below. I would love to learn some more about real estate within Ontario and Toronto, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.